It's wild to think that it's been almost 6 years since the first Sonic movie dropped. Since then, we've gotten 2 sequels that outperformed each other, a Knuckles spinoff proving the Sonic cinematic universe actually works, and now a 4th movie coming in 2027 featuring Amy and Metal Sonic. At this point, I think it's safe to say that the Sonic movies didn't just succeed, they saved the Sonic franchise. But the crazy thing is, it wasn't supposed to go this way. Back in 2019, we witnessed one of the biggest butterfly effects in both movie history and video game history. That being the original Sonic movie reveal. That design sparked so much backlash, so much internet chaos that it forced a redesign. A redesign that completely changed the trajectory of Sonic's entire future. And now, with a new untitled Sonic event film announced for 2028, I think it's the perfect time to look back on how everything shifted so drastically, and how one redesign reshaped the franchise forever. So come on, Empathetic Gamers, take a seat, and let's get started. Before 2019, the Sonic franchise was in a rough spot. The 2010s started strong, but ended with disappointment. Sonic Forces left a lot of fans feeling empty, and Team Sonic Racing came out but wasn't the heavy hitter people expected. You could feel the burnout. The excitement was just gone. And then, Sega started teasing something new, a live-action Sonic movie. At that time, nobody knew what to expect, but the franchise needed a spark, something that could bring life back into the community. What we got instead was, well, one of the biggest controversies the Sonic franchise has ever seen. When that first screenshot of the original Sonic movie design dropped, it was the first time I genuinely wanted to cry for the blue blur. We survived Sonic 06, Sonic 4, Rise of Lyric. Hell, we bounced back from all those pitfalls. But this? What were we supposed to do with this? It didn't look like Sonic at all. The design ignored everything iconic about him. Every new screenshot that leaked over the next few months just made it worse. And you can feel that something was seriously wrong behind the scenes of this movie. Then, on April 4th, 2019, the first Sonic movie trailer officially dropped. And it sparked one of the worst reactions I've ever seen for a movie trailer. If you weren't around, or you forgot how bad it truly was, trust me, everyone was clowning on this design. Sonic fans, non-Sonic fans, casual viewers, people who hadn't touched a Sonic game in over 20 years, suddenly had an opinion. It became a worldwide controversy so massive that social media basically united and demanded a delay so Paramount could fix Sonic's look. The idea of a movie studio taking that much criticism and actually delaying the film sounded insane at the time. But the more you rewatch that trailer, the more obvious it became that there was a huge disconnect between Sega and Paramount during production. In an article written by CNBC, Toby Astor, the one who acquired the rights to the Sonic movie, gave a lot of key insight as to what was going on behind the scenes. He states, "All of a sudden, we went from trying really hard to make a really faithful video game adaptation to being next in line of the people who had ruined video games for everyone. It was just a disaster of epic proportions." His producing partner Neil Mortiz also chimed in and gave his perspective during the backlash. He recalled making an impassioned speech towards Sega and Paramount to ask for more time to redo the design. He stated, "We've really screwed up here. But there is an incredible amount of interest, and what we need to do is fix it. We need some more money, and we need some more time. If you give that to us, I think we could turn this thing around." Now, personally, I mean no disrespect, but I genuinely want to know who thought that first design was a good idea. I'm all for creative freedom, especially from producers who did grow up with the games. But at some point you had to have realized at the time that straying that far from the source material was really dangerous. Back then, I really questioned whether Sega or Sonic Team pushed for any changes at all during that process. And this tweet I'm about to show perfectly proves just how big the disconnect was. An artist on Twitter posted this. An interview in Brazil with a staff person said Paramount people were the ones ignoring Sonic Team's petition to change the design. They were confident their own vision of Sonic would do better. See, with Paramount buying the Sonic movie rights from Sony, this gave their production team almost complete freedom to run with their own vision. Sega was technically a partner, but they were distant from the project and they had zero plans to make any kind of video game tie-in. This was fully a Paramount production with Paramount's vision leading the charge. But unfortunately, that original vision almost led to one of the worst movie reveals of all time. The backlash of this trailer was so bad that the film director Jeff Fowler released a tweet that in retrospect changed the trajectory of this franchise forever. "Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie, hashtag gotta fix fast." Even if you weren't an active Sonic fan at the time like I was, this was shocking. From my perspective, the movie felt dead on arrival if they stuck with the original design. But seeing that tweet, the confirmed delay, and the announcement that Tyson Hess was brought in to lead the redesign, that's when I started to believe this movie might at least be watchable. Then I saw the new trailer with the redesign, and thank God they listened, because holy shit, he looked so much better. This is how you adapt a video game character. You're gonna take some creative liberties, sure, but this is how you do it while still respecting the source material. He actually looked adorable and fit Ben Schwartz's voice so much more naturally. And while people were still unsure about the movie's overall quality, you can't deny that this one change instantly made you a little bit excited to check it out. Back then, I was pretty cynical when the first movie came out, but looking back now, the chain of events had an enormous impact on the future of this franchise. This had become one of the biggest butterfly effects in cinema and gaming history. So this brings me into my next section. I want to play a little what if game. I feel like we undersell just how much these movies not only helped Sonic, but also paved the way for successful video game movie adaptations. Looking back, the success of these movies is downright astonishing. Each Sonic movie had outperformed the last, and the numbers and the records don't lie. Sonic Movie 1, $300 million. Sonic Movie 2, $400 million. And Sonic Movie 3, damn near grossing $500 million globally at the box office. Along with records like Sonic Movie 2 having the highest video game movie opener of all time, to Sonic Movie 3 being the highest grossing Jim Carrey film, and Sonic Movie 3 breaking the Guinness World Record for the longest shadow? I didn't even know that was a record, but okay. What's even crazier is that according to the same CNBC article from earlier, the design fix costed around $5 million, but resulted in a franchise that has generated nearly $1.2 billion at the global box office. Of course, multiple factors contributed to this success. Stronger writing, the introduction of popular Sonic characters like Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow across all three films, and the third movie setting the tone of raising expectations for the next up-and-coming films. But in my opinion, the single biggest reason we're here today is the redesign of Sonic himself. So here's a genuine question that I want to ask you, the viewer. What if Sonic's movie design was never changed and we were stuck with ugly Sonic for the first film? Think about it for a second. This design literally spawned a cameo in Disney's Chip and Dale. That's how infamous this was. If the OG design had stayed, none of these sequels would exist. Maybe a second movie would have eventually happened if they fixed the design, but would they have even hired Tyson Hess, whose creative vision brought the movie design back to life, in a time where that spark was genuinely needed the most? Would Tails and Knuckles have appeared in the second film? Probably Tails, but definitely not Knuckles, especially with how important 2022 was for its character. Not to mention the writing would look completely different if they had to rework the damage from the first movie. Sonic Frontiers probably would have came out in the same state, but without the first movie drawing in new fans, the game wouldn't have reached as wide of an audience. Shadow likely would have never appeared in the movies, which in turn wouldn't have inspired Sega to create Shadow Generations. The Year of Shadow probably wouldn't exist, the Sonic Movie 3 pack for Shadow Generations wouldn't exist, and characters like Amy, Metal Sonic, and future editions might never have been included. Regardless of how you feel about the movies, they genuinely helped save the Sonic franchise. Some people might feel uneasy relying so heavily on films, but Sonic is a multimedia franchise. The game should remain top priority, but revenue, popularity, and momentum can and will come from multiple avenues. The quality and success of these movies have given Sega and Sonic Team the confidence to put their all into delivering the games that new Sonic fans truly deserve. Don't get me wrong, I'll always have my 2000s Sonic nostalgia, but new fans deserve to enter the franchise with quality titles to enjoy. And once again, if Ugly Sonic made it into the first movie, most of us wouldn't even be here right now, or at least I wouldn't. These movies have grossed over $1 billion in just 6 years. Think about that. Paramount changing the design of one of the most iconic characters in gaming history is what made millions of people buy into the movie hype. And ultimately, that helped save the franchise. To say we dodged a bullet is an understatement. Even now, it's still wild to think about how impactful these movies ended up being. Not just for Sonic, but for the entire landscape of video game adaptations. Mario entered the movie scene 2 years ago and is already getting a full Super Mario Galaxy film next year. For decades, video game adaptations were infamous for doing the exact opposite. Studios didn't understand the games, or they were too stubborn and prioritized with their own quote-unquote creative visions over what made these characters iconic in the first place. But thankfully, through the power of social media and the passion of the Sonic community, Paramount made a decision that changed the entire trajectory of this franchise. I genuinely can't imagine a timeline where these movies don't exist. We would have missed out on Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves lending their talents and star power, and all the unforgettable moments that these films delivered. Hearing Live and Learn in Sonic Movie 3 made me so damn happy. And my girlfriend, who isn't even a Sonic fan, literally cried at the end. Moments like that remind me why I'm still a Sonic fan to this day. We probably wouldn't have gotten any of that if the OG design hadn't been changed at the last second. Sure, the games might have bounced back eventually, but Sega and Sonic Team's confidence was at an all-time low. The community's faith was at an all-time low. A lot of us, including me, were starting to lose hope in this franchise. But after 6 years, 3 movies, 1 TV show, and more on the way, it's pretty clear these films sparked a golden age for Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm genuinely excited for Sonic Movie 4 and whatever this new Sonic event film turns out to be, because it feels like the momentum just keeps building and the franchise is becoming better for it. But until then, this is Breck, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. God bless empathetic gamers, and take care.